This week on JTV, it's Halloween, and we're creating a festive holiday centerpiece. Now what?
Trick or treat.
What are you supposed to be?
I'm a lumberjack.
You look more like the JTV director.
Do you have candy?
Beat it. Our special lighted centerpiece featuring Acolyte and beautiful Naranga roses from Euphoria. Our first step is to select an appropriate pumpkin. We need to decide what size will be great for our project. If we're using a centerpiece, or maybe we could use a giant pumpkin to make a really big display, or even a little tiny pumpkin for a smaller display. In this case, we're using one for a centerpiece. So I picked out this size. I looked at it to make sure it was the right shape, right color. Then I picked a container that would be appropriate for me to be able to fit inside the pumpkin so that we can place our flowers inside this container. I want the container to be suspended up at the top of the pumpkin itself. So I want something that will sit up here and still give me some room below for our special trick we're going to use on this pumpkin. I took my container and measured along the outside and placed little dots there so that I could carve out my pumpkin top to be slightly smaller than the container itself. I hollowed out the entire pumpkin, and then my container fits right inside there and is held in place by the lip of the pumpkin itself. The other thing I want to do is make my pumpkin a little bit more interesting, and that brings me to the JTV trick of the week. We're going to use the Honey Home Decor stain from Design Master to give this a little bit more of a burnished look. Make sure that we shake it up good. Point the nozzle to our black dot. And we're going to apply light coats to the pumpkin to give it a nice shadow right around the lip. I need to do this in a well-ventilated area, so I've got my pumpkin and my spray, and I'll be right back. There's our pumpkin. And now for our Halloween trick. We've got a drill to drill holes in our pumpkin. I actually saw this trick in Martha Stewart's living. I'm going to drill holes all the way around the pumpkin to allow light to shine out onto the table. That takes care of the top. Let's do the bottom. That's a whole lot of fun. Now I understand why Martha Stewart liked it so much. We'll clean off our pumpkin. And down underneath our container, we'll use acolytes. So you can see how that's going to make each one of those little holes glow. So now we're ready to put our container in the top of our pumpkin. We need to place artesia foam inside the container to hold our flowers. We'll cut a block like this, always remembering to bevel off the edges of our foam. That allows us to make a much more attractive round centerpiece. can take this out. We'll use the waterproof tape to hold our artesia in place. That'll make sure that the foam's secure so that it won't flip out. There. Now it's time for us to add our flowers. I want to add a little bit of branch material. This is some viburnum leaves. You could go out and cut maple leaves, or any type of fall leaf would be appropriate. We could even use preserved fall leaves. That would be great too. I'm going to place those in a collar shape around the outside of the container. Because this is a centerpiece, we want to make sure that it looks good all the way around. We'll also use one up towards the top like this. When we're creating a floral design, our first placements will determine the shape and the perimeter of the arrangement itself. So we know that this is how big that arrangement's going to be. Since the hot colors for Halloween now are purple, chartreuse green, and orange, those are the colors that we're going to incorporate into our arrangement. I'm going to use these bright purple Florigine carnations, and I'm inserting them down deep into the design itself. That's going to cause depth and allow that great purple color to be down deep inside the arrangement. My next placement is one of my favorites, Naranga roses. And the Naranga are extremely thorny. I like that about them. Makes them a great flower for Halloween. And I love their geometric shape and that bright pumpkin color. Because I'm using Euphoria roses too, I always know that the foliage is beautiful, so I can use that foliage as part of the insertion as well. So it helps add a different texture and a different greenery to the arrangement. I'm going to place this one down deep in between those two purple carnations. Look at how great that looks. Those two colors right together just makes it so much more vibrant. As we spin this around, we'll add one on this side over here. So now it looks great from all sides. Next, I'm going to add a few chartreuse pom-poms. A little bit of acid green at Halloween is perfect. It makes all the other colors bubble up. When we're creating a round centerpiece, it's important to make sure we're turning it around all the time. I have a couple of beautiful lilies here. I want to add those inside here as well. Normally, I'd remove the pollen so that it wouldn't get on someone's clothes or maybe onto the tabletop. But since I'm going to be setting this on a wood table, I'm going to go ahead and leave those because I like the contrast and I like the way that they look natural. When we pull the pollen off, sometimes it kind of strips down the actual characteristic of the flower itself. So I want this to remain more natural for our Halloween look. That reminds me, though, of a great trick that I learned a long time ago from my friend Rocky Politz. If you ever get pollen on your clothes or on a tablecloth and you want to get rid of it, take that tablecloth or your clothing before you've washed it or tried to treat it and place it in the sun for 3 hours, and the pollen will magically disappear. That's a great trick for Halloween. Now I wanted to add just a little bit more chartreuse green, but with another texture. So in this case, I'm going to use the foxtail fern and slip a couple of those in there. It's an unexpected texture for this arrangement. The finishing touch for our arrangement will be some ribbon. And in this case, I wanted to use one of the new 50-yard put-ups from Berwick Offray. This is an orange ribbon called Indulgence. It'll add indulgence to our centerpiece. We'll use 2 pieces about a yard long. I'll cut the ends to give them a dovetail. Just folding over the ribbon and cutting across it gives us that great dovetail. Let me show you one more time. If we take our ribbon and fold it in half and then cut it at an angle, that gives us a great dovetail. It's a great way to dress up the end of the ribbon. And of course, we always add our ribbon with our Koi color stick by taking our ribbon and pushing it down into the foam itself. Because this inexpensive ribbon from Berwick Offray is made of polyester, it's not going to soak up any water, so there's no danger of me placing it down into the Artesia foam. The Artesia foam will also grip the ribbon as securely as it grips the flower stems. That allows me to make a loop with the ribbon rather than having an old-fashioned bow down inside. Looks like we need one more on this side. There we go. I want to add one more thing, and that's a bit of this berry bamboo branch from Knud Nielsen. I think it looks great because those round shapes also are reminiscent of the holes we have in the pumpkin and also the pumpkin itself. With Halloween being one of the most popular decorating holidays in today's market, we can never go over the top by adding too many things. We'll lift our arrangement out and we'll add our acolytes. We can do several different things. We can actually put these directly into the holes, or we can put several of these down inside the pumpkin itself. I'm going to insert these into several of the holes throughout the pumpkin so that I get good intense light from some of them. We'll have a couple in the bottom, and that'll give light to some of the other holes as well. So we've brought the lights down to accentuate our acolytes down inside the pumpkin. We'll place our flower arrangement in here, and you can see how wonderful that's going to look when all of our little trick-or-treaters arrive on Halloween night. This seasonal centerpiece uses our traditional Halloween colors as well as introduces chartreuse green and purple. It's a fun way for us to celebrate Halloween. Until next week, keep having fun with flowers.